Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Sunday, the 19th of December, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Now, I'm going to tell you guys what. Watching London very carefully and watching England very carefully, the United Kingdom. Watching them very carefully because they're a little bit ahead of us on this virus thing. What I'm watching for is something I'm going to call the Omicron effect. I'm going to dub it that, the Omicron effect. What the Omicron effect is basically this thing moves so fast, spreads from one person to another so fast, a very short incubation period, that it can make everybody sick at once. Now, the major symptom of this is what they call fatigue. That seems like everybody that gets it gets this fatigue, what they call fatigue. Well, that sounds pretty innocuous, when they say fatigue, and everything. But think about what that really is. What does it basically mean when a doctor says you have fatigue? Basically means you're in bed. You don't feel like getting up. You're sick. Okay? So basically what it means is everybody's stuck to their bed that has it. For a period of time, before they start to feel better later, maybe. So here's the thing. You get enough people off sick. This is what I'm going to call the Omicron effect. Off sick. In other words, they are stuck to their bed. Maybe the traffic cop, he's stuck to his bed. Or maybe the emergency room technician, or the doctor, or everybody. The person that runs your local grocery store, all stuck to their bed at once. Because this thing it spreads so fast through the community that this can cause a major slowdown. Now, this is what I'm watching very carefully is how impactful will this Omicron effect be for the United Kingdom, because they're ahead of us. I'm watching it very carefully, and it is having an impact, so the Omicron effect is real, because it is having an impact. How big is that effect going to be? We're going to know in the next little while how big that impact's going to be. And this is very important for the rest of the world, and the reason why is because it's coming to a community near you, the Omicron effect. How big of an effect is that going to be? And that's what I'm watching very carefully for. I don't know at this point how big an effect it's going to be. It might not be that big, or it might be huge. We're waiting, and we're watching. But what I dubbed the Omicron effect is real. In other words, the effect of it making everybody sick at once. That's the Omicron effect. So now we're going to move into something else, and we're going to start the charts right here. And we're going to take a look. Taper tantrum. What is a taper tantrum? The taper tantrum occurred in 2013 in a surge in U.S. Treasury yields, resulting from the Federal Reserve's announcement of future tapering of its policies and quantitative easing. So, okay, the Fed decided to taper. Isn't that exactly what they're doing right now again? They're going to taper. Again, we didn't get any tantrum. Why? Well, bonds and rates today. Let's look at these bond yields. Look at this. For 30 years, you only get 1.81%. Well, the official inflation number is well in excess of 6%. This means you're losing money, even on a long Treasury yield. You move to the shorter yields when you're getting less than 1%. And you ain't making nothing. These are negative yielding. In other words, you're losing money to buy them. Simply put, you're losing money to buy them. So the Fed's going to raise them a minuscule amount on the short end, on the overnight end, on the federal funds rate. They're going to raise it a minuscule amount next year. Not even now, next year. like 25 basis points. What's that going to do? Big fat nothing. Because by then, inflation will be even hotter than it is now. Especially when we start to come out from under the Omicron effect. And everybody starts to get out and get around. And starts to spend money. And it doesn't matter that there's not much money out there for people to spend. They'll just rip it off on their credit cards if they have to. People are going to be people. People are going to live their lives. We can't wait for these politician idiots to dictate our lives forever. We're going to live our lives ultimately in the end. And by this summer, people can't stay sick forever. People get better eventually. And what happens is they're going to want to go out and spend. And especially going to want to spend if they know their money's going to become worthless. This is the effect of what causes hyperinflation, is a loss of confidence in the purchasing power. The engine's been started. And the flywheel's now starting to spin, and it's going to go faster and faster and faster. Until the gears fly out of this machine. How long is it going to take for the gears to fly out of this machine? It's a very simple answer and a very simple formula. Okay? The gears are going to fly out of this machine when the price of food gets so high that people can't put enough together in order to feed themselves. They say, well, Glenn, when is that? Well, it's going to take a little while for prices to get up high enough where it's going to squeeze everybody out there in the whole world. It's going to squeeze them all to where they're saying, well, I can't afford to pay my rent this month, and I can't afford to feed myself too. And my kids are going hungry. That's when the game comes to an end. When the overall population gets to that point, even with the central bank digital currencies, because we'll probably have them by then. I'm looking out a year or two from now. And they'll be pumping the money out in these central bank digital currencies, but that's just going to make the inflation worse. Because then they got a real money generating machine. But it's not going to keep up. Nothing's going to keep up with this rate of inflation. To the dollar and all the other fiat currencies. Doesn't matter if you got dollars, yen, doesn't matter if you got Great British pounds, doesn't matter. All of them are going to go down simultaneously in their purchasing power. And we're going to hit a certain point, maybe a year, 2 years from now, when the people can't feed themselves because the prices of everything's going up so high that their wages are not keeping up. And even their checks, stimmy, they'll have automatic stimmy check payments by then. Probably a central bank digital currency will just come on your phone. And it won't buy you nothing. Your whole month's worth of that will only buy you maybe one bag of groceries. That's when it's going to really strike home. And the inflation rate's going to be so high by then, we're going to be in the middle of a hyperinflation, and your dollar's going to be cut in half every day what it can purchase. And people will spend it as fast as they get it. That's when the trouble's going to come, because that's when we're going to hit the point where people can't feed themselves out there. And en masse, something big's going to happen. I'm not going to say what it is, but something really big's going to happen at that trigger point, when the people all around the world can't feed themselves any longer because their money's valueless. Something big's going to happen. Really, really big. Something really big, and I'm not even going to say what it is, but you guys should be able to figure it out. So, how far away is that? Depends on how fast the hyperinflation moves. Could be as long as 5 years from now. I hate to tell you guys that it might last that long, but it could, but I tend to think it's not going to last that long. I tend to think it's going to be more like a 2 or 3 year sort of thing, maybe 2 years out, or maybe a year out. If it moves really fast, it could even happen all in 2022. toward the end of 2022, if it moves in really fast. It just depends on how quick this moves, how slow it moves. And they're going to buy a bit of time by releasing these central bank digital currencies. Because in the initial stages of this, when the people start to get hungry, all the central banks are going to produce these central bank digital currencies, and they're going to be using them to send people money in order for people to survive. But because that money is just basically totally valueless, it's going to go down in value rather quickly. So what you can buy with the money that they send you, that's just going to reinforce the hyperinflation, make this whole thing go quicker. So it's modern monetary theory. And for you guys to understand why all this whole thing's going to go down so bad, is it works on the same principle as the old farmer. The old farmer come in and he said to his wife, he said, you know what? He said, I lifted that cow yesterday, didn't I, Ellie? And she says, yeah, you did. He says, and I'm as strong as a moose, and I only weigh 160 pounds. She says, yeah, you are really strong. He says, well, you know, Nellie, I should be able to fly. She says, really? He says, yeah, you see these straps I got on my boots? If I can lift 300 pounds and I only weigh 160, I should be able to fly. And he gets on there and he's grunting and he's groaning and pulling on his bootstraps, and he's not flying. He says, why? Why aren't I flying? I'm lifting 300 pounds and I only weigh 150. This is the way with printing money. With nothing, just printing it and giving it to everybody. You think, okay, we're going to make everybody rich. And on paper, it works out fine. Just like his works out in his mind. I only weigh 160 pounds, and I can pick up 300 pounds. I should be able to fly. That sounds logical. Well, it sounds logical if you just send everybody money out there. Everybody's going to be rich. But it doesn't work in practical terms. But this is the only answer that they have, ultimately. And it's going to lead to a final point where the whole thing, where the rubber meets the road. And the rubber meets the road when it gets to the point where the people can't feed themselves any longer. And they're going hungry, and their kids are going hungry. And then we hit that. That's down the road. That's down the road. It might be, I'm just going to guess. I mean, okay, I'm kind of rattling away a little bit here, but I'm just going to kind of guess that it's about 2 years away, maybe 3 years away. But it ain't going to be pretty, and you guys got to prepare for that when it comes. That point. And you got to prepare for it now. You got to get out of the dollar. And you got to get into these other asset classes, like the best possible asset class you can get into is silver. For the average citizen out there. Real physical silver. In my estimation. Now, I'm not telling you guys, I'm just saying, in my estimation, that's the best of the best. Because if the internet goes down, it doesn't disappear on you. If and it's pretty to look at. It's beautiful stuff, you know. It's so white and pretty, you know. And there's gold. Gold's beautiful too. But then also there's things like platinum and palladium, and you can even save copper. Copper's great if you've got a lot of storage space. You can save copper. But for crying out loud, even cryptocurrencies are good, but for crying out loud, get a hedge. You need to get a hedge, and you need to get a hedge fast against these failing fiat currencies. These failing fiat currencies are going to fail very soon. We're on the cusp now. You haven't got much time left. And this will mean whether you can eat or not. When that time comes, you'll still be able to eat. Where most people, it doesn't matter if they got $1 million. $1 million isn't even going to buy you a piece of toilet paper. Look at these countries like Zimbabwe. And how the fiat can buy nothing. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.